British Prime Minister Winston Churchill once remarked that they only named a tank after him because of the vehicle's many shortcomings. The initial batches of Churchill tanks indeed suffered from numerous defects and breakdowns, but those issues did not prevent the tank from becoming renowned for its formidable armor and survivability. In War Thunder, Churchills can be found at low to mid ranks of the British tech tree. For example, the first tank in the series is waiting for you at rank 2. This model already has all the strengths and weaknesses inherent to Churchills, and as such can be a good representative for the whole family. Straight 89mm plates on the hull can stop anything rank 2 vehicles can throw at you, and the turret has even more armor. Moreover, the tank's weak spots, such as the machine gun port or the turret ring, become really hard to hit at distances over 100 meters, or when positioned on elevated terrain. The side armor does not disappoint either. Even when struck at point-blank range and at a right angle, it's still virtually impenetrable by interwar tanks like the Soviet T-28. Opponents are often left with no choice but to target the road wheels, but even an immobilized Churchill can take a lot of punishment before going up in flames. However, in order to survive until repairs are completed and avoid an unfortunate trip back to the hangar, it's a good idea to call for reinforcements, or at least try to take out opponents one by one. The catch is that the Churchill's excellent armor is offset by some significant problems. The turret-mounted 2-pounder struggles to penetrate enemy armor, so in combat, you'll have to rely on the gun's rapid rate of fire, aim for tracks, engines, and other modules of well-armored targets. When engaging a T-34, shoot at the turret ring, and German panzers can be hit through the cheeks. Shermans and KV tanks are best left alone. Just flank them and mark them with machine gun fire for allies with more powerful weapons, although the Churchill's mobility leaves much to be desired. The tank can reach a speed of 28 km an hour forward and only up to 3 km an hour in reverse. Plan your movements in advance and use your hull-mounted Howitzer's smoke rounds to cover your retreat. The Churchill Mark III and the Churchill NA-75 initially seem very similar to the previous model, but there are quite a few tactical nuances to consider. For instance, they're not as heavily armored relative to their rank. When up-tiered, both tanks have to deal with powerful Soviet 85mm guns and the cannons of Panthers. However, these British tanks also received new armaments. Their 57mm solid-shot rounds can penetrate the KV's mantlet and basically pierce the armor of the Panzer IV from any angle, not to mention that they also deal much more damage than the familiar 2-pounder. The Churchill NA-75 even received an American cannon with access to APHE shells that not only penetrate well but also inflict a lot of damage thanks to their explosive filler. All in all, these new Churchills can be used as traditional heavy tanks, with a bit more caution than the original model but more effectively overall. The Churchill Mark VII combines the best qualities of its predecessors. 75mm solid-shot rounds may lack a bit in the damage department, but they can penetrate a lot of targets you might encounter right through the front. Notable exceptions include the Panther's weak spot near the gun mantlet, the lower glacis of IS tanks, and the frontal armor of Shermans. In those cases, go for their machine gun port. When fighting other opponents, it's best to disable the gun first, especially if dealing with vehicles equipped with the 122mm D25 cannon, or with tanks like the STRV-74 and the Italian Sherman Firefly. For most other adversaries, the 152mm thick armor plate of the Churchill will be a serious obstacle. The T-34 or the American M6 and T-1 tanks can only penetrate such a slab of steel at point-blank range, or by hitting your small weak spots. Unfortunately, the Churchill 7 still cannot reach speeds greater than 20 km an hour. Special mention should be made of the unique members of the family. The Howitzer-armed AVRE is the best armored tank at its rating, but its 18kg shells are not easy to shoot, to put it mildly. Hitting a target even at 100 meters is quite difficult, so it's advisable to engage opponents only one at a time, and in close combat at that. The Black Prince is an experimental model, with reinforced armor and a new, more powerful gun. It is perhaps the only tank in the family that has both an excellent armament and good reverse speed. And to make it even better, the strong armor is also still there. The problem lies in its max speed when moving forward. The enemies of this vehicle have become faster, but the Black Prince still only accelerates to 20 km an hour, with a power-to-weight ratio barely better than that of the mouse. Thus, it is best used as an armored sniper. Just find a comfortable position from which you can destroy enemies at long range. Your priority targets are medium and light tanks with access to heat shells, such as the Japanese Type 61, the German Bulldog, and other post-war vehicles. The Churchill Crocodile is essentially the Churchill Mark 7 with a flamethrower, an ideal pick for fans of barbecue. Its flames are not only effective against light vehicles, they also obscure the opponent's vision in close combat. There's also the gun carrier, a self-propelled gun based on the Churchill chassis, armed with a rather powerful cannon. Its solid armor allows it to confidently push forward under enemy fire or, if you prefer it that way, eliminate enemies from a medium distance. Despite their high skill ceiling, tanks of the Churchill series really do shine when storming well-defended positions and when things go south in general. But what do you think of the British heavyweights? Share your thoughts in the comments below.